Hey everybody, Crypto Mentor 99. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I have the honor and privilege of having Serena, the Southpaw Outlaw DeJesus on my channel, and we're going to talk about fighting and sponsorship because she's got an Invicta fight coming up in January. Serena, nice meeting you. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. It was really awesome. You were on my tweet. I didn't expect many people to come on, and you offered to help me, so that really means a lot.
No problem. So for those of you that know Serena and don't know me and you're watching this video, I started this YouTube channel 2017. I talk about cryptocurrency investing, none of which we're going to talk to about tonight. Serena put out a tweet that said, hey, I've got a fight coming up. I'm looking for sponsorship. I reached out to her and said, hey, let's do an interview. I've got a small but growing 16,000 or 15,500 YouTube followers. Let's get you some money, some sponsorships. So, Serena, before we get into the sponsorship, which I'm dying to get to, give us a flavor when you were growing up, and you're still, younger than I am for sure. Give us a flavor, like growing up, like how you got into fighting, what's made you stay in fighting, and where you're at now with Invicta.
Okay, so I was always a giant nerd. I loved Sailor Moon. I loved Power Rangers. I loved video games and pretty much a lot of anime. I was kind of an anime before it all became mainstream as it is nowadays. So for me as a kid, I would rent VHS anime tapes when I behaved in school. That was my reward. Yeah, I pretty much dated myself with that. But my dad would buy UFC on VHS. So I remember coming down one night at just to see my dad. He's watching Gary Goodridge versus Paul Herrera. So Gary Goodridge got something called a crucifix and essentially just elbow bludgeoned Paul Herrera out, and it looked very similar to like my favorite fighting character, which is King from Tekken. Still play him to this day. He does like all these crazy flips and other moves because he's a luchador. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, the stuff in my video games and the stuff I watch is real. So
Mm.
I just became a fan watching IFL, Pride FC, WEC Wreckage, Elite XC, and of course the UFC. Strike Force 2, and others like Femme Fatales, which came when there was more female fighters kind of starting to make their way into the MMA scene. I had the privilege of being mentored and still is my best friend by Roxanne Modafferi, the Happy Warrior. She just
Awesome.
recently retired from the UFC with 50 fights under her belt. That's
Crazy.
amazing. 50 fights, man or woman. That's pretty cool. But yeah, my crazy journey started because I just love martial arts. So I was kind of athletic in high school, but then after high school ended, like I didn't have access to a gym really and stuff. And I'm like, okay, if I go to college and I go to work and I don't have an outlet, I'm gonna go nuts. So me be wanting to be a more educated MMA fan and have an outlet, I decided to go to this local gym that trained in jujitsu and Muay Thai.
Mm.
So I'd be a more educated fan, not those drunk idiots shouting, well, they're not idiots, they're passionate. Let me rephrase that, shouting like stupid stuff like just stand up if someone gets taken down, you know what I
Sure.
mean? So my those first days led to my first jujitsu competitions, which I won, then led to my first Muay Thai fights,
Mm.
traveling to Thailand, training there, and then led to my first MMA fights. And then it led me to meet, the person who mentored me and became my best friend, Roxanne Modafferi, and then led my very crazy journey into MMA. So I went out in 2013 to train in Thailand because my original plan was to be the scariest woman in Muay Thai, then go to MMA. Because, I'd have at least a good solid base in one,
Mhm.
discipline. But I broke someone's ribs in my second amateur Muay Thai fight, and it was hard to find a fight in the local area. So then I'm like, okay, so I go to 2014. I want to go to Thailand anyways, just train because every summer, I was done with college and I called them traincations. So there are political riots in Thailand. So I was not going by myself anywhere in that mess. So I messaged Roxanne Modafferi, who I was a fan of at the time. This is before we became friends. And I'm like, hey, could I, since you're back here in America, fun fact, she was an English teacher by day and then fought by night. She used to be a Yakuza boss's daughter, lived to tell a tale. She's a very interesting woman, that one, and she's the best. But then she said, yeah, you can come out and train with him. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because I was watching videos of her fighting when I was in middle school. Because that's how much of an OG she is. And
Yes.
then we became best friends because we're both nerds, kind of part of the glasses gang, and we love fighting. So, and then our, friendship lasted because I'm originally from Philadelphia and I moved all the way out here to the West Coast to train. And I would fight in the West Coast, fly back home to Philly, come back to the West Coast, train and fight, go back home. But then around 2016, I had this really crazy cross country journey. It went for me, my second amateur MMA fight, being on a local reality show for MMA where I live. They filmed us getting ready for fights and then being on their fight card and everything, which really shot me up for a little bit. And then after my third amateur fight, Misha Tate approached me and then took me out to dinner. And I was just like, oh my God, what is this 3-0 amateur fighter going to do for this fighter who at the time was at the cusp of fighting for the bantamweight belt in the UFC, who at the time Holly Holm was holding that. And Holly Holm is a southpaw whose specialty is in boxing and a little bit of kickboxing. So I blurbed out because I can't pay this woman. She just bought my dinner. So I blurbed out, if you need a southpaw to help you get ready to fight Holly Holm, I would love to be a part of it. So then I'm going back to Philadelphia thinking, Serena, she's not going to do that. Lo and behold, she got in contact with me like, hey, could you be out here for a week for my fight camp? I'm like, I'll pack my bags in 5 minutes. So I flew out the next day and she fed me. She gave me a place to stay and it was awesome. I got to be with her in training. And then she went on to choke out Holly Holm, win the championship belt. But after I was done with Misha, I had another call from a fighter who was in Invicta and now is in the UFC, Andrea Lee. She wanted all the 135ers she could get her hands on because she was fighting a woman because she's at flyweight. She was fighting a woman coming from my weight, the bantamweight division, down to flyweight. So from 135 to 125. So she wanted all the big girls. And I'm like, I'll oblige. So I was in Shreveport, Louisiana for 3 weeks straight training with her. And that was definitely an interesting point. I've never seen anything like Louisiana before, and it's cool. Wow. But then after that, my friend Roxy and Andrew are fighting on the same Invicta card in Vegas. So I flew to Vegas. I'm like, I'm going to cheer for my friends. I'm going to root for them. And I'm going to find my own fight and go home back to Philadelphia. But things didn't work out that way. I couldn't find a fight. I'm still in my amateurs, mind you. So I don't get a purse. You don't get a purse at all as an amateur. Sponsors kind of help you stay afloat and live. But then I couldn't find a fight. So I'm like, oh my God, the tickets to Philadelphia are expensive. What do I do? So I call my parents. I explain the situation. We're like, Serena, where you are right now on the West Coast has everything you need, a great gym, plenty of fights you couldn't get back home. And it's the way for your career to progress and go upwards. So this is coming from a girl who's never lived more than a train ride or a bus ride away from their family. And now I'm going on the literal other side of the country. So it was hard, but I did it and I kept training. And then I eventually became an assistant kids coach with my friend Roxanne Modafferi. Then before she retired, I was called to help Misha again after my fight last year for Invicta against Laura Mueller. She was a commentator and she approached me saying that my striking was better than her opponent. So this is a woman in the UFC saying my striking was better than obviously her opponent who is in the UFC. So I'm like, hey, and I always like helping my friends. Yeah. So I went over to help her for a little bit. And then, my friend Roxanne retired after her fight and I joined the gym where Misha is pretty much full time. And I've been getting some great stuff. And I've also been able to be with my coach for 3 years, Marvin Eastman, who's a former UFC fighter himself. He's a pioneer in his own. Fought Quentin Rampage Jackson 3 times. Like he's taken out Carter Arona, like some big names in MMA people seem to sometimes forget. But it was so funny because I was sitting on my dad's lap as a kid watching him fight on VHS tapes. And it was so
Mm,
funny because the first time I saw him, I didn't recognize him because back in the day, he wore glasses much like myself, but he had a mustache.
mm,
So when I see him, he has no glasses and he has a goatee, and he's shorter than I thought he was. Than TV always makes us all look big, so he seems short. I'm like, wait a minute, is that really? And then I see his tattoo on his back,
wow,
Beastman. I'm like, oh, it's him.
that's cool.
So, and yeah, it's so funny. I went from watching him fight on TV and now he's my coach.
That's awesome.
And he's the best. He's the coolest dude ever. And he is a true believer in equality, equal rights and equal lefts. No, not, but
Yeah,
he
sure.
treats me just like his dude fighters. Like he
Mm.
says, you hit like a dude, so I'm going to treat you like a dude. I'm not
Oh,
giving
that's
you any breaks
awesome.
or passes. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes, sir. Yep. See, it's the year 2022, soon to be 2023. It's all about equality.
No, that's good. What a story. Again, I'm just visualizing kind of, you growing up and your journey, and wow, that's really special. Let's talk about sponsorships. So we got about 5 or 6 minutes left
Okay.
because I want everybody to watch this video. Um, Give us again, we talked about this in the pre-interview, but I want to get it out to the listeners and subscribers here. Give us a little taste of what a sponsorship is, how it helps you, and then I'm going to tell my viewers to sponsor you. So do you have to be a company?
Okay.
Do you just want money? Do you want t-shirts, like gym shoes? What do you want?
So it all depends. So for me, sponsorships and for a lot of other fighters, sponsors kind of help keep the boat afloat
Yeah.
because we have gym fees, we have to pay our coaches, we have to have specialized training, strength conditioning, more MIT sessions, recovery, because I, for example, have trained for probably about 4 or 5 hours a day lately.
Mm,
I have like a rest day or stuff, but like after this, I'm running 3 miles after I had an 2 hour and a half long session of training with my coaches and strength and conditioning. And I had to
mm,
take an ice bath, for example. I just came out a little while ago, hence my styling attire. I came out of 24 pounds of ice that I
mm,
sat in for like 6 minutes straight. And but sponsorships kind of keep our dream alive. It pays for our
sure.
training, it helps us out. And in return, sponsors get their stuff seen. So there's a giant banner that goes over the panel of cage that has all the sponsors that help out the fighters. And depending, because it's a tier system, like the lowest tier, you get like a social media post, like across, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, thanking you for your support and everything, and to redirect clientele and our fans to y'all. And then it can go up a level where not only it's social media posts, but you earn a place also on the banner. And if it goes even higher, you go social media, banner, and then parts of the clothing.
Mm,
Like the higher paying, the more like prominent on the clothes. Like there's top people have paid top dollar for spots on across my chest because I wear a tank top. I'm shy. And across like say the butt of my shorts or the front of my shorts.
yeah.
So there's a pay level for pretty much everybody. You don't have to be a business. You can just be a normal person, be like, hey, I think you're all right and I like your fighting and I like what you stand for. Here's this. And they go on my banner. I've had farms sponsor me. I've had CBD company. I've had just regular people off of Twitter be like, "Hey, I think you're awesome. I would like to sponsor you and help you for this." And I'm like, "Hey, tell me if you want a name or a picture. What do you want up there?" And they tell me, and I have my graphic designer make the banner because it has to be within the parameters that Invicta, the promotion I fight for,
Sure.
puts it in. And then what I do is when I have all the sponsors compiled, because I have to have them like a week and a half before I go fight because I have to get it printed and brought to me, right? Along with my fight clothes. So then I post the images of all my sponsors on the banner on all my social media platforms and tag them.
Mm,
So
okay.
everybody sees them. And it's my way of thanking them because
Sure.
sponsors keep fighters going.
Yeah.
And especially like for amateurs, my amateur careers, my sponsors were really the saviors of my fight career. Without them, I don't think I even would have progressed to be a pro because it's a lot of time and it's a lot of money because I'm
Yeah.
training and then I'm working and then it leaves so little time for recovery.
Yeah. So guys, gals, if you're a subscriber of Crypto Mentor 99, I'm going to go ahead and put my Bitcoin address below, my Ethereum address below. All proceeds are going to go to Serena for sure. My PayPal account is cryptomentor99@yahoo.com. That's going to go to Serena. And what am I missing? I'm going to put Serena's Twitter link in the description box of the video. If you want to sponsor her for the next fight, which is the 18th of January, or if you want to start some type of, I'm just thinking off the top of my mind, like an ongoing sponsorship relationship with her short term, I'll be the intermediary and just give the information to Serena, and we'll kind of work something out that way. Again, I'm not her manager, hopefully a new friend of hers here in Missouri, but let's work it that way, at least short term. Everybody knows my email address. That's in the description box. cryptomentor99@yahoo.com, cryptomentor99@yahoo.com. And sponsorship is more than just a pat on the back. It's more than just having your logo. It's instilling, I'm going to get a little philosophical here. It's building into the next generation of fighters that are coming up. And this is all new to me. I love it. And I'm going to keep on, with Serena's permission, maybe once a quarter or whatever, have her back on to talk about her progress, blah, blah, blah. So Serena, in the time that remains, I always give the people that I'm interviewing the last word. Is there anything that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you about, or something that's on your mind now? So you've got the last word.
So yes, well, first I'd like to thank my sponsors I have right now. I'd like to thank My Consumer IT in Houston. They do computer repairs and also networking services for small businesses. Jerky Pro, they're a local beef jerky company in Ohio run by two former law enforcement officers, and they're really great people, and you don't need a science label to read what they put in their beef jerky. So that's pretty good. I also would like to thank Win the Fight Nutrition. So they're my nutrition sponsors. They help me with vitamins and supplements so I don't get injured and I can, continue my job of making weight and dieting, because fight camp's not fun. It's chicken and veggies pretty much all the time now, but that's all right. And I'd also like to thank anybody who wants to sponsor me or who just wants to help me out for this fight camp. Y'all mean a lot to me, because seriously, sponsors are the lifeblood for MMA fighters and fighters, period. And I hope to be as entertaining, and be worthy of the money you help me have a great fight camp with, because this is a title elimination fight. I win this, I go to challenge for the bantamweight belt in Invicta, most likely, and I'm excited for it.
So guys, gals, let's get behind Serena, the Southpaw outlaw, DeJesus. And again, Serena, thank you for coming on, and we will definitely have you back on, okay?
Awesome. I look forward to it.
Thanks so much.